welcome to the Origin of the Maker podcast, the very first one with Bjorn's Workshop. Awesome leather worker, Twitch streamer. How's it going, buddy?
It's going well. How are you?
Oh, same old, different day. Doing some stuff, making things look ugly, destroying them, making things look pretty, and just looking at them.
Yes.
Yeah, I bought one of the Spirit Halloween Pit Boys from Fallout 4, and I was doing
Spirit has Pit Boys now?
Yeah, looks like these.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they're like $25.
Huh.
Yeah.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, I bought two because one I was gonna do a Nuka-Cola Pit Boy because I've seen a ton of people do them, and I was like, oh, I could do one. That'd be kind of cool. Then I was gonna do like one with a hot rod paint job that had flames coming up from the bottom, and then it would be all black on top and like weathered and paint chipped and stuff. And like the first one I got to the part where I did the red, but I made the mistake of doing gloss paint instead of satin because like it's more like an enamel paint. But I was using Rust-Oleum, which works because their new stuff it bonds the plastic too. But I was like, well, this looks like crap. But instead of like using like some paint thinner and trying to rub it all off and just redo the whole paint job, I had the bright idea. I was like, because I had some paint strippers, like I can get this off pretty fast with some paint stripper, not realizing that the paint stripper melts the plastic.
Yep.
I was like,
oh god.
I was like, no.
Poor choices.
No. So
on the plus side, now you have a Pit Boy that has been left in a irradiated pool of water.
Well, I would. But
or not.
Gravity in my foot made that no longer a Pit Boy.
You know what? That's fair. That's fair.
I was so mad. But I did save the linacular screen because they had like the screen that you look at different angles and it has like different pictures. I don't know if you can see it, but it like changes.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So I saved that, and I have a Pit Boy 3000 cast from Fallout 3 that I bought myself for my birthday years ago that I'm actually repainting because I did a horrible job the first time. So I'm going to be putting that in there and repainting this too. But just fun things, always just screwing stuff up, then starting again, screwing stuff up, starting again.
That's how it works.
You know the story. But nice Hoku props shirt, man. I didn't realize that you were wearing a Hoku shirt.
Thank you. Yeah, I try and rotate through. I'm gradually starting to get more and more shirts. I've got one for Hoku, one for Parkers and Quinn. I'm going to be picking up an Evil Ted one at TwitchCon, which I'm really, really excited about.
Yeah.
I need to get an SKS one, hopefully at TwitchCon or somewhere thereabouts. Yeah. And anybody else that I know. Do you have shirts?
Not yet. Actually, one of my viewers made me a banner. It made me 4 banners. So on my YouTube, on my Twitch, and on my Instagram, not Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and one other thing, Twitch. I have I have one banner on each one of those.
Nice.
But I was gonna have one for my YouTube channel, but it's too small, so I'm gonna have to have that resized. But they're really cool. If you go to my Twitch or Twitter page, you can see it's awesome. He's I guess he used some pictures from Chernobyl and did some stuff to it, then put my logo on there.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, I was like because I pop in on Evil Ted's chat on his Twitch like every Monday and Tuesday when he streams.
Yep.
And I was like, Ted, where can I get one of your awesome shirts? Well, he's like, well, you have to meet me first. I was like, crap. I was like, well, damn it. It looks like I'm going to have to get you out to a con soon.
Yep.
Hopefully. Because we, here in Indy, we have like a few cons. We have one big con called Gen Con. And that's the biggest one we have here. But we also have a Comic Con and a Pop Con. But, we got cons all over the place around here. Up in Chicago, there's always ones like C2E2 and like I think it's Wizard World Comic Con, I think. And anime, there's an anime con up there here soon. A friend of mine trying to get me to go with him too. One of my friends who's a maker who uses me as guidance. So apparently I'm his prop daddy. But yeah, man. Speaking of makers on Twitch, you're an awesome Twitch streamer. You do all the cool things out of leather of all things.
It is true.
You're also a TwitchCon cosplay contest finalist, man. That's
so stoked.
That's awesome.
I am so stoked. So the cosplay contest, there was, I think, 50 some odd entrants, all of which were absolutely incredible. There's 4 categories. There's larger than life, there's armor, there's special effects, and there is needlework. I entered as armor with the stag armor from Guild Wars 2, and it is all heavy duty leather. Really, really, really excited. I consider myself to be an armor first and then a cosplayer, so I'm building it to be functional combat ready armor, which is something that not a lot of cosplayers do. And thanks to community vote, I was voted as one of the finalists. The way that the finalists are selected, each category has 5 finalists, 4 of which are selected by Twitch and or the judges, and then the last slot for each category is selected by community vote. So all of my friends, family, followers, basically everybody I know and everybody I don't know banded together, pulled together, and got me to the finals. So super, super, super stoked about that.
That is awesome. And I think it was somebody sent me the vote through your chat. It was I don't remember who it was. Somebody sent me like, vote for Bjorn. I was like, vote for Bjorn. I was like,
yes!
Arr. Yeah, but it's like, because I know last year at TwitchCon cosplay contest, Hoku Chad he won for his giant Reinhardt costume he did, right?
Yep, his Reinhardt took first. Second was Vert Vixen with her shard. Alpaca Ash took third. I'm drawing a total blank on what she did, but just some incredible craftsmanship.
Yeah.
And they are the judges, plus Vampy Vintme, who's another famous cosplayer. So it's really, really nice to know that the judges are crafters. They are cosplayers. They are makers. You know,
yeah, because Bill Duran was one of the judges last year, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Bill of Punished Props.
Yeah. Awesome guy.
Super, super cool guy. Very, very, very skilled. Very, very nice. And incredibly helpful. If anybody has questions about finishing 3D prints, foam fabrication, general prop fabrication, definitely a good one to go to.
Yeah, because he has two Foamsmith books that I have a copy of each one. They're really helpful and informative. And if you don't have a Foamsmith book, you're doing yourself a disservice because they are really good information.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But yeah, man, you know, you do a lot of leather work. You said you're doing battle ready. Probably not enough to stop a bullet, but maybe a small knife.
Well, the thing that I remind people when they're like, so like, could it stop a knife or a sword? The thing that you use to cut leather is a small knife.
Yeah.
Like that is exactly what you use to cut through leather.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons that like the historicity of leather armor in like the archaeological record, it's not super common because like there's better options.
Yeah, like plate armor or stuff like that.
Well, yeah, it's things like funnily enough, cloth armor that is layers of wool is actually super effective.
Yeah, I remember seeing like this documentary on armor like years ago, and I don't know where, probably online somewhere, YouTube, probably because where I see a lot of my documentaries.
Yeah. Yep.
But I was like they were comparing like layers of wool to layers of cotton to leather to steel, the plate armor, and it's like, holy crap.
Well, yeah, it's basically like, people use whatever they could afford.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is that if you're going to try and be able to afford chain armor and then plate armor, having a cotton or having a wool base, a wool gambeson, is what you needed for plate armor, which was the goal, like the end game. Everybody wanted it. And so if you buy leather, then you end up having to buy the wool anyways. So you might as well just start by buying the wool and be on your way to that end goal.
Yeah, because like it would be wool, then on top of that would be like the plate or leather armor or the chainmail or whatever.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Because I remember seeing it went through like 2 or 3 layers at first at a small stab, and like a big one was like 5 or 6, but there were still like 12 other layers left over.
Yeah, it's crazy how layered things were. It's crazy.
So you might not be cut, but you're probably gonna be bruised.
That said, if somebody wanted to hit me with a wooden stick, I'd be fine,
Yeah.
which is cool. Which is really cool. And
Huh.
in fact, I may have to test that before TwitchCon,
Just
because it would be really fun to be able to walk up to the judges and be like, hand them a stick and be like, hit me.
yeah, he's yeah, especially because I know Chad's is going to be one of the judges, right, this year.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, just give Chad a stick and like, Chad, just whack me with it. But yeah, that'd be cool. I'm hoping if I'm not working, whenever the cosplay contest is, I'll be able to catch the live stream.
Hell yeah.
I obviously won't be able to make it because I have responsibilities as an adult and as a father and a husband that I have to do before.
Yeah, adulting is the worst.
Yeah, especially because I'll be 29 this year, and I was like, I still like, I'm in my 20s. I'm still kind of young. Once I hit that 30 mark, I was like, oh god.
So I started streaming at the beginning of this year.
Yeah, and you're now you're subbed. You have subs too, which is amazing.
I may be getting a little bit ahead of myself here, but the reason that I started streaming was because I was in a soul-sucking day job, and I was just not happy with it. It was an office job. I was in a cubicle, and
it's the worst.
I went to work every day, and every day I hated it a little bit more. And it just got to the point that my girlfriend looked at me and was like, hey, like, something needs to change. Like, you're just not happy. And I was like, yeah, but what am I going to do? So I originally planned to go back to school because I'm really close to 2 different degrees, anthropology with an emphasis on archaeology, and then theology focusing on mythology and Eastern philosophy.
That's awesome.
Because I originally wanted to teach ancient languages and teach ancient mythologies. But then I realized that I hated being at school. So it was kind of went from soul-sucking school to soul-sucking job to let's try something different. So I wanted to go back and finish my degrees, but then it turned out that of the 3 classes that I was going to take that first quarter, I actually ended up only needing 1 of them. So because it is cheaper per credit that you take at most schools, it ended up being super, super expensive to just take that 1 class. And so I was like, well, I can either spend a bunch of extra money per credit or take this first 3 months and just leather work like the Dickens. And I decided to try that. And Suchi Coochie and let's see, and a couple of my friends that are streamers said, hey, you should try streaming. And so I started streaming, and it's just kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah, it is real fun.
Oh, it's so much fun. It's so much fun.
Because, I haven't been streaming a lot lately because I was like, I had some more important things to focus on.
Sure,
and because when I started streaming, I was like, I want to do this, and I'll just edit it down for my YouTube channel, and it'll be all right. And I was like, I was vastly unprepared for that. Mainly because, like, a lot of free video editing programs that you can get, there's a lot of them that you can use, and a lot of them are very useful. But when you go to export a video, there's a giant watermark on your video.
Oh, no.
So I was like, oh, crap. I was like, well, I can get Adobe Premiere, which is great. It's a very, very awesome one. But it's like $100 or something like that. I was like, I'm just going to like paste them together on my phone and upload them that way and see what happens.
Hey, it works.
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah. I've like, I like wasn't really working. My plan wasn't working. I was like, I need to reevaluate this. And like all the Twitch streams is like, I was like, it's fun hanging out with everybody and stuff. But I was like, I got to step back and look at the bigger picture. And I was like,
sure.
I will eventually get back to streaming because it is fun. I love hanging out with all my followers, and a lot of them are your followers too. Yeah, I obviously don't get nearly as many as you do. But,
well, again, one of the cool things about the Twitch creative community is that people don't just watch one stream at a time.
Yeah.
90% of the time. Most people have 2 or 3 streams going. They'll be chatting in one, they'll be listening to the audio for another, because for the leather work that I'm doing, there will be streams that I'm streaming for 16 hours where I'm hitting a stamp that is 1/4 of an inch by 1/8 of an inch just 30,000 times, just backgrounding an entire section of leather. That's not terribly exciting to watch.
Yeah,
but if I happen to be going on one of my tangent rants about how much I love creative or how much I hate toxicity or whatever the rant of the day happens to be,
or just hoping that nobody plays shitty flute music.
Oh God, both the joy and bane of my existence. I'm super glad that it's a thing, but I hate it so much.
It is quite funny. I will say that out of the blue, it is like do crazy, crazy. But you saying soul-sucking day job to awesome fun Twitch streaming, because as my job is I'm a jeweler. I repair jewelry every day. I use a torch that runs about 4,000 degrees with on top of gold, platinum, silver, stuff like that. And I play. Yeah. When people ask me what my day job is, it's like I play with gold and diamonds all day. And it's like with my job where I work, it's usually a lot of jewelers will use like natural gas and oxygen or propane and oxygen. Yeah. But at my job, since we're in a strip mall, we're not allowed to have any oxygen and stuff with running lines, because obviously they think that'll explode, which could very well, But
details, whatever.
Yeah, it's like I
safety.
There's with being a jeweler, there's a lot of cool stuff that you can do. But like the torch that I use, like I got a newer one. It's called it's a hydroflux welder. It basically turns electrolytes in water into fire. But yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah. But because that's my newer one. Because my old one broke down, but my old one was basically the same thing, but it ran off electrolytes, water, and methyl echoketone, which is like an acetone for like cleaning stuff. Okay. But like I would still have my friends like because it was blue and it was blue and white box with had a torch handle coming out. It's like, yeah, I got this magic blue box that turns water into fire using meth. I was like, yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, but yeah, because like obviously there's not a whole lot of people who can find creative jobs that will pay 40-hour work week worth of pay. Yeah. And I'm lucky on that end because my job is actually very fun on top of the daily miserable crap you got to deal with. Sure. So it's awesome that you've made your streaming and creating into a full-time day job, even though
it's getting there. It's not quite where it is permanently sustainable. But before I quit my job, I had built up a savings, so I've kind of got a bit of a safety net.
Yeah, you got
I can still try and ramp things up.
Yeah, you got yourself a buffer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So hopefully the TwitchCon thing will go well. If I end up taking home a prize, that will definitely help.
Oh yeah.
One of the big challenges that I guess one of the big risks that I took in entering the TwitchCon cosplay contest is I've basically spent the last 3 months of my life working just on this armor, not doing any commission work, not doing any side stuff that is income generating. This has been my sole focus. So
well, yeah, but you gotta that 3 months you're gonna be spending working on that one thing. If you win's gonna pay out a lot.
And that's exactly it. Is no matter whether I win or not, like the cash payout is a thing. But I'm also really looking forward to just getting more exposure. Having a 3-month project that I get to go ham on detail, I get to go absolutely crazy and do, really push myself as an artist and have people see what I can do and have either individuals or game companies or movie companies or, who or whatever else just see that that's a thing.
Yeah,
hopefully that will turn into something.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because, like, how much was last year's grand prize? Wasn't it like 15 grand or something like
Yeah,
that?
the grand prize is 15 grand.
That is a
Second
lot of
place
money.
Second place gets 8, third gets 4, and then each category has a best in category that's a grand. So
Well,
there's a lot of money up.
Yeah. Well,
There's
rather
a lot
you.
of money up.
Well, obviously, first through third place, you're still coming out higher than somebody else. But even then, if you win in a category, it doesn't matter what the prize is. It's like you got I won at this category thing.
Yeah.
And especially if you win first prize, which I'm rooting for you, because if you do, that'd be amazing. Because
that would be so cool.
You're doing a lot of work with a thing, a part of making that is actually very hard to do. Not a whole lot of people can do it.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, I should say, because anybody can do anything, but doing something well is what you got to strive for. Because, like, dude, your whole suit itself right now is just it's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Because watching you on your Twitch stream is wanting me to do more leatherworking on my end, which I've done. You know, I made a few holsters, and I've started a few things, and one of the costumes that I've been striving to get my pinnacle version of is the NCR Veteran Ranger from Fallout New Vegas.
Yep.
And because I made the chest piece out of foam for my first one, then I modified it and add stuff to it for my second version. But I'm gonna do that whole thing out of leather, like two layered leather, and get some Angelus paints to gray it all up. And
hell yeah. And that's the one that has like the low sitting gun belt on the hip, right?
Yeah, and my friend has a pattern for that. We're gonna make one when I come down to it.
Hell yes. If you have any questions throughout that build, let me know.
Well, yeah,
always happy to help.
Definitely, yeah. Because I don't know if you can see in the background.
I was gonna say I saw the unfinished one sitting there over on the left.
Yeah, that's my latest version of the helmet, which is not quite working out the way I want it to. But I may just finish that up and start over.
Sure.
Not? But because other than that, I do foam crap like this, and obviously you've seen me work on the Doomhammer.
Crap in quotes.
Yeah.
As you hold up an amazing Mjolnir.
Oh no, you can see this one, like the Doomhammer.
Oh, I love it so much.
Yeah, like I just got that done. I finished up the leather strap on it, and I didn't have any brown stains. So I was like, well, crap, I got some black, but. Well, we'll just go very lightly and just smudge it really fast and see if I can spread it out, and it actually worked out pretty nice.
It works.
I just once I did
How many hours did that take?
I started this back in July.
Okay.
And I had got to the halfway done, but I was like, well, this isn't going to get done before I go on vacation, so I'll just put it to the side and finish it later. And then I just didn't finish it till recently.
Fair.
Because me and my wife went to a festival out in Ohio, a fire festival where people go out and camp, spin fire, and do all those kind of things. And I took some of my foam stuff with me to show off to my friends. And I was like, a friend of mine was like, you get that Doomhammer done, bring it, and just come up on me and just whack me to the ground. And just run off. I was like, okay, it's gonna hurt because this is actually kind of heavy.
Yeah.
But I took Mjolnir with me, and I just smacked him with that in the head.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But we've chitter chattered for a little bit, and seeing as this is called the origin of the maker. Everybody has their origin stories of how they became makers. I have mine. Yeah, at some point I may tell it, but
you definitely have to tell it.
At some maybe if I ever do a Q&A, I'll.
It doesn't have to be today, but
no.
Maybe someday you can do an origin of the maker.
I'd have to think about that for a while. I've been making stuff since I was a kid. So I have to figure out exactly when I went, what point, and I was like, I'm gonna do this now.
Well, I think that most people our age, because you said that you're 29, right? I'm 28.
I'll be 29 this year.
Okay, yeah. So we're the same age. I think that for our generation, it started out with Lincoln Logs, Tinker Toys, Connects, Legos, all of those toy sets. You know, there's an entire set of toys that have been around since, you know, Lincoln Logs have been around for God knows how long.
Yeah, and I still have all of my Legos. I'm just waiting for my son to get old enough to play with them.
Hell yes, absolutely.
Because I have all my Legos separated into bags, and I have them in a giant Connects box because I lost all my Connects.
Oh no.
But seeing how, like I said, this is the Origin of the Maker podcast. Obviously, you have a background in making, especially in leatherworking. So how did you get into making? What got you into doing leatherworking as a maker?
So, what got me into making versus what got me into doing leatherwork? I've been a crafter, creator, maker type person, again, since a very, very young age. Growing up, my dad used to do all of our home repairs himself, and I was his kind of helper. Yeah. We used to refer to Home Depot, and still do refer to Home Depot, as the toy store. So Harbor Freight is the toy store too, and Home Depot is the toy store. So whenever there was something plumbing-wise, you know, we framed in and walled in. There was kind of this overhang on the side of our house when I was growing up that we walled in and turned it into an extra room. So from a very, very young age, I have enjoyed kind of the hands-on craft maker type stuff. But when I got to high school, I kind of drifted away from it. I've always been an artsy kid. And when I was in grade school through high school into college, I was a vocalist, so I was a singer. I started going to college to do vocal performance as my major.
Sing something pretty.
Not right now. But so that was kind of my creative focus was singing, and I did some acting and that kind of stuff. And then I just kind of fell away from that, and I wanted something to do that was kind of a time sink. I went to school in Eastern Washington where there's not a whole lot to do. There's basically tumbleweeds, desert, and either study or party were kind of the options. And I'm not a party kid. Was never much one for drinking or anything like that. And I didn't really want to study, so I had to find some sort of an alternative.
Yeah, because like you said, you live out in Eastern Washington, like the Pacific Northwest area.
Yeah, I'm from Western Washington, born and raised from the greater Seattle area, but I went to college in Eastern Washington at Central Washington University, and so I decided to kind of start collecting skills. I learned to crack a bullwhip, I learned to swing poi, I learned to juggle, I learned card flourishes, you know, all of these just random quirky things that I could pick up on YouTube that were, hey, you spend 30 hours working at something, and guess what? You become proficient at it.
Yeah, speaking of cracking whips and spinning poi, I also know how to do that.
Nice.
But on fire.
Hell yeah. It's the same thing, you know. It's more or less the same thing. You've just got a Kevlar whip that's soaked in kerosene rather than a braided leather whip kind of thing.
If you ever make it out here to the Midwest for whatever reason,
sure,
we'll obviously have to hang out and drink, because why not? But also, a lot of my friends here are fire performers, and I have a friend who has a giant whip that he sets on fire, and every time he cracks it, it's a giant fire explosion.
Hell yes.
And it is,
hell yes. Sign me up for that.
It is quite a sight. It is very fun.
That's good stuff. That is good stuff. So when I was in college, one of the skills that I decided to pick up was making chainmail. Central Washington University is in a small town called Ellensburg, and it's a farming town. They've got a rodeo every summer. You know, the whole farm life thing is definitely a thing. So I was wandering through Ellensburg, and I found at one of the tack and feed stores, they had a spool of 17 gauge galvanized steel wire. And so I was like, you know, I've seen all these videos on YouTube of people making chainmail. I kind of want to try that. Like, screw it, let's try it.
Why not?
So I pick up a quarter-mile spool of wire. I go to the hardware store and I get a quarter-inch steel dowel that I turn into kind of a rotating handle that I can use as a spindle to make my own coils.
Yeah.
And I think I've actually got a couple of coils here still. So if you've never seen these, this is what this looks like. It's literally just a giant spool or a giant spindle of coil.
Yeah, I've seen those.
And so I would sit there for just hours at a time, just making coils. And then I went to the hardware store and I got myself some lifetime warranty wire cutters. And I would just sit there and clip rings for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. And then I would spend, hundreds of hours weaving them together into just sheets of chainmail. And
that's awesome.
It was fun.
Very time consuming.
And that's exactly it. I eventually got to the point where I would spend, 200 hours between making coils, cutting rings, weaving rings, and I would end up with something that was, a 10-inch by 1.5 foot swath of European 6-in-1 chainmail, and I just went, that's a lot of damn time for something that is not really that functional.
Well, yeah, especially if you're like making the O-rings yourself, because that sucks.
Yeah, well, and exactly. And so from there, I kind of drifted away from chainmail because while I grew up on fantasy adventure, Lord of the Rings was a huge, huge thing. The Sword of Shannara, the Sword of Truth, all of those kind of epic fantasy adventure stories are what I really, really enjoyed. Always had a thing for medieval history, kind of the arms and armor type thing.
Yeah, same here.
Which is why I got into the chainmail, but I drifted away from that and just kind of stopped making things for a while.
Yeah.
And eventually I left Central, took some more classes at a local community college, decided that school wasn't for me. I wasn't really making the most out of the time. And so I went and got a normal day job. And with, again, going back to the soul-sucking day job and not having that creative, crafty outlet, not having singing or acting or crafting or repairing or fixing as an outlet, things just weren't good. I wasn't happy. And so I was trying to figure out what my next craft would be, what my next skill that I would pick up is. And I was browsing through Craigslist and I found a listing of a couple of tools and a little bit of leather for like $50. And I was like, leatherworking might be fun. I don't know what I would do. Like, I don't know anything about it, but that might be fun. And so
that's where you start with everything. It's like, oh, well, I don't know anything about this, but let me dive in and see what happens.
Exactly. And I am very much that way, where when I pick something, I dive in both feet first, throw caution to the wind, and let's just try it.
Yeah, because when I used to, because I'm a professional luthier when it comes to guitar repair.
Yeah.
And because, like I said, I know how to make guitars. But when I started out in high school, because I'd played, obviously, you work on guitars, you're probably going to most likely play guitar.
Sure.
And, like, I'd played guitar for years, but I would, when I needed to learn how to do something, I'd spend I don't know how many hours just diving in and researching on things to do things, like, because there's a part on the guitar, it's called a Floyd Rose tremolo, that you can like move it up and down. It makes a higher pitch of sound on the guitar, or real low pitch, just depending on which way you're going. But that's a very complicated mechanism, and I spent over like 50 hours just figuring out how it works.
Hell yeah!
And then they say that's how you in leatherworking. There's so many things. And
leatherworking is unlike most other crafts in its variety, in that there's Western gear, saddles and boots and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and holsters and
reenactment stuff. There's police duty stuff that is all of the utility belt, holsters, pouches, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, there's shoemaking that is, high-end bespoke boots or utility, super rough and tumble. There's purse making. There's normal day-to-day stuff like wallets and mouse pads and that kind of stuff, and everything in between. And then there's garment leather that is a whole nother thing. All of these things use different tools. All of these things use different skills. There is some crossover. There's some bleed over for the tools, but all of them have tools that are specific to them.
Yeah.
And my problem when it comes to the skills and the hobby collecting was that I would get bored. I would gain some sort of moderate proficiency in like card flourishes, and like I can do a handful of moves that are flashy and impressive, and that's good enough for me. Going past that just kind of doesn't feel like it's worth the amount of time that needs to get invested. And then chainmail felt like it was opening a ring, closing a ring, opening a ring, closing a ring. It didn't feel like there was enough variety and mental challenge. And leatherwork, since I started it, every single project is a challenge. Every single project is different. Every single piece of leather interacts differently with the tools. They've got some have hard spots and soft spots, some have scars, some have flexible points, some are super even-tempered and fun to work with. And it's just every single piece is different. Yeah, and that's something that keeps it super interesting for me.
Yeah, you're saying opening, closing O-rings is what chainmail basically is. But besides the braiding, but if I had a number on how many O-rings that I've opened and closed over the past 10 years, I probably want to cry.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. It's crazy to think about.
Yeah,
but
mine were gold and silver, but not steel. But still, it's just like open, close on.
Yep.
So many things.
It's crazy, absolutely crazy. But so, I picked up this leather and some tools, and I ended up making a couple of really small projects. I made a deck box for Magic the Gathering cards, which is that guy. You can see it. They can't. I've shown that off on stream a couple of times.
Yeah, you showed that off on. It was like 2 or 3 days ago. You showed that off talking to somebody.
And so it was one of those things that I made it. It's not pretty. It's semi-functional, but I was really proud of it in that I made it with my hands. It was a complete project, but it just wasn't where I wanted it to be. And then I made myself a set of bracers, and about 3 months after that, my girlfriend and I were at a convention in Eastern Washington called RadCon that one of the panels is an intro to leatherworking. And so I was like, I've done like a project and a half. I'd like to know how to do this because I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I don't know where to get leather. I don't know where to get tools. This is something that is a complete new world for me. And I'd like to see where this can go. And the entire panel was dedicated to answering all of those exact questions. Basically, all of the excuses that people make that are, I don't know where to learn. I don't know who to ask. I don't know what to use. I don't know where to get it. And it answered all of those questions so that at the end of it, I was super fired up. I was super excited to just be like, all right, I'm going to dive into this. This is going to be super cool. And then
you found Tandy Leather.
Well, and then I found Tandy Leather. One of the people in the audience actually was the wife of one of the store managers of one of the Tandys in Eastern Washington. And so she had all sorts of insight of like, hey, there's one of these in Tacoma, there's one in Seattle, there's one in Spokane, all around the area. Like they're available.
We only have one. We only have one over here in Indy, and it's on our west side. But the people over there, they're super cool. Like every time I go in, I was like, "This can of barge is $80. Can you make me a deal?" And I was like, "Yeah, $40. Here you go." I was like, "Sweet."
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
That was my last Black Friday purchase.
Yeah.
My only Black Friday purchase.
Yeah, they've got some screaming deals on Black Friday, on I think Labor Day it was. Like 3 or 4 times a year they've got super crazy cool sales.
Yeah, and they also got obviously they have different tiered memberships you can get with different prices. Stuff like that,
also
handy.
anybody that is current or former military gets their biggest level of discount for free,
That's amazing.
which is really cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
But so after that panel, I was all fired up. I went home and I started making a couple of sets of bracers. And one of them was this kind of dragon scale pattern that I had found a step-by-step online of how to align the tool kind of thing. And I was like, wow, this actually turned out really good. This turned out really well. I want to make some shoulders now. And then I got the shoulders done, and I was like, huh, I want to make a breastplate. Oh, shit, this is turning into a full set of armor. And that was like the moment where it went from making a couple of individual pieces to realizing that, like, I had this whole set of armor designed in my head that throughout this whole process, this had taken me months to do, because I would do one step and then the piece would sit there for like 3 weeks because I wouldn't want to go to the next step and then screw it up.
Yeah.
And ruin the whole thing and have to start over. So it would sit there for like 3 weeks or a month, and then I would do one more step and it would look really, really good, and then it would sit there. And then I would do the next step and then it would sit there. And so
is that is that red armor that you have?
Yes. Yes.
That's what you're talking about? That's awesome.
Yep.
Because I saw that. I don't remember, because there's several different pictures of that floating around the interwebs, and I've seen 2 or 3 of them. That looks pretty awesome.
That is the red and black dragon armor, and so I ended up making that set with the goal of going back to that same panel the next year with a full set of armor. And
look what I did!
And that's exactly it. So the next year I showed up in this red and black armor, and I'm sitting in the back of the panel, and the guy who leads the panel, his name's Dragon Drone. He's a prop special effects costume guy in LA, does a bunch of commercial stuff, movie stuff, TV show stuff, and he's from the Pacific Northwest, and his thing is every year he comes back for a handful of shows and basically says, look, if this is something that you guys are interested in doing, this is what my path has been. It's doable. You just have to work your ass off and make it happen, kind of thing.
That's like,
and so
isn't that
at
like
this. Go ahead.
Sorry, we're talking over each other. It happens. No, it's like every prop maker's like initial goal is like, I'm gonna make stuff and I'm gonna be in the movies.
Yep.
You know,
absolutely.
As I've got. Well, it's kind of like an open movie commission I've got. I've got to make armor for out of foam, and it's like,
sure.
Making things for the movies. I need to do this all the time.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's like it's on my Facebook. It's a gold wolf mask that I made.
Okay.
I carved up. It's actually for a Power Rangers movie. Whenever my friend gets back around to making it, doing a full original samurai style gold armor.
Yes. Oh, that's so cool.
But since watching you and learning more about leather stuff, I'm sitting there thinking, it's like, well, I can just do foam for my customers, but when it comes to me, maybe I should step it up and do leather. Because I have a set of or started a Skyrim Dawnguard heavy armor.
Yeah.
And I made the shoulders and out of foam, and I made the helmet out of foam. And the helmet, it is actually pretty cool. It goes like this.
Hell yeah.
And my speaker fell over. Luckily, nothing went wrong. I need to glue that down. But I was there thinking, I was like, I get back to making this armor. It's like, I should probably just step up my game and make the stuff I want to make out of leather. Because
it's a thought. It's a thought. And again, that's like one of my goals as an armor, as a cosplayer and that kind of stuff, is to show people that there doesn't have to be a line between functional armor and cosplay armor. They don't have to be separate worlds. Yeah. At this con that I was talking about, one of the things that I noticed the first year that I went is that there was the cosplay contest, and then there was a group of LARPers, the live action roleplay crew, and then there was a group of the historical reenactors, the SCA type people, and there was no bleed over between the three of them. There was no interaction, no crossover, and
that's so weird because it's like you get all of them together, throw them some beer, then like they'll be the best of friends.
And that's exactly my point, is that like for whatever reason there's a line, and there is a lot of crossover within individuals, but not a lot of crossover between communities. And having this moment of realization that's like, look, you people in the SCA that have spent hundreds of hours building this combat ready kits that are historically accurate, these LARP people that have spent hundreds of hours making prosthetics and special effects makeups and armors and that kind of stuff that are designed for kind of this light to medium combat.
Yeah.
And then the cosplay that historically and traditionally is for show more than it is for function. Yeah. You know, it's a lot of...
Well, you say there's not a lot of bleed over in those communities, which is true, but here in Indy, at a Gen Con, we normally get a LARP group. Because I got a couple friends who do it. They're in a group, and they actually every year, I think they've done it every year. The past couple of years, it's they rent out an area, a big like a small arena size area in like one of the convention halls, and they do demos and they let people fight. It's like people who do cosplay or people who play games, and like, hey, we have giant foam weapons that you can smack each other with, and well, unless you're like extremely stupid, you're not going to injure yourself. So
absolutely,
there you go. Absolutely. Have fun, you know. And as I remember going and doing that, meeting up with some friends, and I met them there doing that, and it was like then I became friends with them, and it was like then they've been doing it every year since. So it was like
absolutely.
It's cool that sometimes there is bleed over, because a lot of the people who do that are also into other things.
Yeah.
Yep. But it's weird to see that you know, you get these people who do all this amazing work, and they pour their life into it, and they only go to one thing, like they go to a Ren Fair, and that's all they do. Like, but it's like you could take your booth of all your leather, all your armor, all your swords that you do for your live action role player friends or reenactment friends or whatever you do. You could go to a Comic-Con and you would sell out the first day, because people love that stuff.
That is exactly what I want to help more people realize, is that people that are armorers, if you like fantasy adventure, you can be a historically inspired or historically accurate fantasy themed cosplay that hits all three of those: the historically accurate, the fantasy adventure LARP, and cosplay, all at the same time. There's not a hard line that says you have to fit into one of these pigeonholes that so many people not necessarily think exist, but just kind of defaultly, when you interact with one of those communities, you don't always think about all of the other options that are out there. And that's such a cool thing, to be able to broaden the horizon.
Yeah, that's one thing about that I like, is that you obviously you're doing legit leatherworking that you sell on your Etsy, but you're also part of the cosplay community. A lot of cosplayers know who you are and like your work, but also you probably, I'm not exactly sure, but you probably have a lot of people who do live action role play or reenactment stuff who know who you are, who would follow you just as easily.
Yep.
But yeah, that's I don't know. I just I like to see like people who do the same thing but in different communities. I like seeing that. The fact that like there's like these people who do this thing, but also these people who do the exact same thing, they don't know each other exist, but they probably got their sources from somebody similar, maybe it's from like you or like Bacon Boy. I know he does leather working and stuff like that. But
yeah, absolutely.
I would just love to see that, just the whole of cosplay making, reenacting, live action role play. I just love to see it all melt together into one glorious cluster.
Yeah, it all falls under that creative umbrella of, like Twitch has.
Yeah.
And I want more people to see that.
Yeah.
When going back to talking about the first time that I wore that armor at that con, one of the things that I got to do was Dragon pulled me up in front of that panel and said, hey, talk about your journey. Talk about what the last year has been, because he remembered me from being there the last year and saw that I had come this far. And so I got to basically just talk about how I went from knowing absolutely nothing to completely diving into this craft and asking lots of questions, doing a shitload of reading, making some connections and kind of finding ways to get the information and the skills. And here I am in a full set of armor the next year.
It kind of seems like, because to me it'd be like you do a panel, you're vomiting your information onto other people, more or less.
Yeah.
And you're like, then like the next year you're doing the same thing, but like, to me it's like, if I were to do a panel about making whatever, and like the next year I do the same thing, and I see somebody who the year before didn't barely know anything about it, but they come back and like just amazing thing, I'd be like, you get it, like you that person over there wins.
and that's exactly what happened. And after the panel, I sat and a guy named Jesse Loggers, who is Midnight Armor Inc.
Yeah.
And Dragon sat down with me and talked to me, and I said, this is something that I've found that is really a passion. I've really fallen in love with leathercraft. What do I do? Like, what's the next step? Like, how do I convert this from a complete time and money sink into something that is hopefully a functional business?
Yeah.
And they basically said, if you continue to advance at the rate that you are, you're basically going to be able to charge whatever the hell you want, and somebody will pay it. And that statement has really stuck with me, that I need to keep working my ass off to get better, because there's so many people that want to be able to do something creative, want to be able to take a handcraft, whether it's finishing 3D prints by hand, whether it's woodworking or leatherworking or metalworking. They want to take something that they've made and turn it into a business or turn it into a livelihood. And I have the opportunity to try and do that.
Yeah.
And so...
Yeah, because I was a couple of days ago on your stream, and I was watching, and somebody was talking about, like, can you make me some leather armor or a suit of armor or whatever? And you're like, yeah, sure. How much you want to spend? And you're like, the guy put down like $100, and I think your response was, well, it's going to be an unfinished leather bikini.
Yeah, and that's...
I was like, this is so great.
It's true, though. I mean, you figure the stag armor that I'm working on for TwitchCon, mm-hmm. by the time that it's done, I'm going to have about 700 hours into it.
Jesus.
And if you figure a absolute base skilled labor rate of $20 an hour, that's like, which is low, which is super low for again, a skilled craft.
Yeah, you should be able to sell that for like $14,000-$15,000 when it's all said and done.
Well, again, that's so.
If you did it at that rate,
15 is $20 an hour without factoring in cost of materials.
Yeah, that's just labor.
When you figure cost of materials as well, it jumps again, and so it's one of those things that a lot of people don't realize what handcrafted stuff actually costs.
Yeah, yeah, that's every once in a while I'll get a message. It's like, hey, I I want this thing from this thing. How much will you charge? And I'll okay, it's okay. I'll look at it and see if one, if I can do it, and two, is it worth my time? And I've only done a handful of commissions because I have a full-time job. If I make money at doing this, great. If I don't,
that's a plus.
It's a plus, but it's more a hobby for me. And it's like, you want a mask from this thing, or you want a shield, or you want a helmet? It's like, well, you got $500. You know, it's like, no, I don't have $500. It's like, okay, bring something up. Here's the tutorial. Here, have fun. You know.
Well, and that's like the way that I tend to have that conversation is, let me know what you want, what your timeline is, what your budget is, and then we can have a conversation. Because if you come to me and you say, I want a full head to toe, super crazy screen accurate set of Gimli armor for $300. It's the materials cost more than $300, and I think that's part of where the disconnect is that the materials cost. There's no real frame of reference for somebody that doesn't do the crafts, and so they just don't have a reference point. And then the time when people say, I want a Genji mask from Overwatch, they don't see that there's 30 hours of 3D modeling or whatever the number is, and then 3D printing, and then finishing the print, and then painting it, and then finishing it, and then assembling it, and all of the steps.
And that's if you're only doing 3D printing too. If like you can 3D printing is, I could just push button, you walk away, and it's done. You get back. But if you're like sort of,
it's that way if you've got a model. If you've got a 3D model that you can do that with. But if you have to build the model from the ground up, and this is something that I actually really like to talk about, is a lot of people in the cosplay world look at 3D printing as cheating.
Yeah,
and
I see that.
I think that 3D printing is incredible. It is absolutely incredible, and I think that 3D printing is no more cheating than any other craft, because if I am putting together a Wonder Woman kit, let's say, and I go to Core Geek, who makes Wonder Woman swords,
that's his Eric's sword is quite cool,
and I buy one of his unfinished swords, it's kind of like going and finding somebody else's 3D model.
Exactly.
You still have to finish it. You still have to paint it. You still have to do all of the finishing legwork, but you start with a basis from which you can work.
Yeah, but of course, always be like, well, you could have made that yourself. You could have, this or that, or like they would have loved to see it. Like, just get a ton of MDF, shape it out, chisel it out, drill it out, whatever. But it's like, well, by one, ordering a kit from somebody, that supports them. There should be no contest of like why you bought that in the first place.
Sure.
Or a 3D model offline or whatever, whatnot. But if you're spending the time, 3D modeling something, because that in itself is something you have to spend a ton of time learning how to do. I don't know how to do it.
And it's a ton of skill too.
Yeah.
Like it's something that is a learned process. It's not something like the antlers for my stag helmet are, I 3D modeled those. It's the first thing I've ever 3D modeled, and I was struggling to get that shit done. And eventually it turned out okay, but it gave me such an appreciation for the things that people are able to do. The weapons that people 3D print, the armor that people 3D print, the custom hardware, buckles, plates, all of those kinds of things, you can get super crazy accurate detail. And it's not that you push a button and it's magically there. It's that you still have to build it from the ground up. It's just that it's in a digital space, not a physical space, so that if you screw up, you've lost the time, not time and materials.
Yeah, speaking of buckles and stuff like that, being a jeweler, I do a lot of wax carving on my free time.
Yeah.
And I carved a belt buckle for my Dawn Guard armor that I'm going to cast out. But thinking of like, here's a 3D print of a tape from Fallout 4 compared to a hand carved piece. There's so many different things that you can do to make things, and I not to bash on people who are like, you should just do that traditionally. You should do this that way. And it's like, well, there's no real set way to do things. There's so many different ways to do everything. Because when I used to be, for a company that I worked for, I was a custom jeweler. I would talk to customers. I would get their design. I would draft it out on paper.
Sure.
Every tiny little detail down to the millimeter. I would send that off to get 3D modeled by a company. They would send it back with a rendering. I would look at it and be like, this needs to be a little bit that way or whatever, or that's perfect. Sure. Then I would have that 3D printed out in wax.
Yep.
Or PLA or ABS or whatever. I think it's probably like more PLA, I think. But they would send that back. I think it was done like on a really nice one, probably like a Formlabs or something, one of the earlier ones. But then we would take that. Either one, we would send it back and have them cast it and send it back, or we would do that in house.
Yeah.
Or if you want to be real traditional, I'd take a big block of wax. I would draw my designs each side. I would cut and shape and this and that and cast it myself. So as technology progresses, there's always going to be people like, no. But, it's if somebody's like, even then, somebody took their time to develop that for you.
Yeah.
I would love to get my hands on a Formlabs 3D printer, Formlabs 2 or whatever. Like the $6,000-$7,000 printer, which I'll never own because I don't have that kind of money.
Yeah.
But I could go get a $300 printer and print something out and spend more time doing more finishing work on that, because then that way, rather if you 3D print modeled it yourself, or you went online and got a model from a free site. Like I have a full set of STL files for a Blade Runner blaster because I'm obsessed with that thing. And I'm eventually going to get it printed out, and I'm going to do all the work. I'm going to finish it up. I'm going to mold it. I'm going to cold cast it. I'm going to do this and that and make it mine.
Hell yeah.
But and then it's like the thing was like, well, did you 3D model that? It's like, well, no, I didn't 3D model that. Somebody 3D modeled it and put it up online for free. Granted, it's not their design. They obviously had good reference to model it out themselves, but I took the time to clean up the prints, to pour my soul into this non-functioning item that I just wanted.
At the end of the day, there is no wrong way to cosplay.
No.
If you're having fun, if you're passionate about your build, if you're passionate about what you've made, the IP, the game, the book, the movie, whatever it is, it doesn't matter if you spend $1 or $1 million or 1 hour or 1,000,000 hours. If at the end of the day you're happy with what you've made, that's all that matters. People have all sorts of opinions on, for me personally, I don't like to use elastic. I don't use nylon webbing. I don't use plastic buckles. All of those things are things that I avoid from my builds.
Yeah.
Because I like to be, as you said, I am one of those. I like to be traditional. I'm the old grumpy old man who's like, I'm gonna go do this leather thing.
Yeah.
And that's because for me personally, I feel my soul is attached to this kind of old world way of doing things. That said, I'm never going to tell you that you're wrong for 3D modeling or 3D printing or printing somebody else's design or doing whatever it is that you want to do. Yeah. Each person as a cosplayer, each person as a builder, each person as a maker, as long as you are doing what you love and making something that you love, that is the goal. That is what makes us win at crafting.
Yeah, especially it's just there's no wrong way to make stuff. Your chest piece behind you. You spent ungodly amount of hours doing that all out of leather.
That is true.
And if I were to I would, if something I wanted to copy that, I would go get some TNT cosplay foam. I would look up your design. I would sketch that out, and I would just probably not spend as much time as you did on foam, but you put them two and two side together. Either like you wouldn't be able to tell, or you'd be okay. Well, this one's made out of foam. This one's made out of leather. I can tell because of the working marks. Because obviously leather, you're gonna have more lines, and foam probably not.
And that's exactly it. Is the big difference between leather and foam is, one, the weight.
Yeah.
Two, the stiffness and texture, and
the heat's about the same though.
Yeah, well, and that's at the end of the day, this is going to be about 70, 80 pounds worth of armor. If it were made out of foam, it would be like 12.
Yeah.
And
like, as I know, I imagine that's going to be hot. It's going to be, you're probably at some point be like, why did I do this to myself? Because there
will be a lot of water chugging. There will be a lot of water chugging.
And you're just going to, and that it's just going to be sweating out into your armor.
Yep.
Because when I went to a Comic-Con in my NCR armor, and the chest piece is out of foam, and we went to eat down the street at a Hooters to get a burger, and I took it off and was like, oh my god, my shirt is wet.
You're just drenched. Yep.
And it was only the front half of myself.
Yep.
I was like, I hope to God these people behind me do not smell me, because I'm pretty sure it smells horrible. Let's get out of here. Let's go back to the Nerd Fest where everybody smells the same. But it's just like, there's no real wrong way to do things. I think people like to say stuff like that just to bitch,
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is that most of the people that complain about that kind of stuff
don't do it themselves. Exactly. It's like
it's the people that want to do it really, really badly, but are too hung up on their own reservations to actually try it.
Yeah.
Or have tried it once, realized that it's not easy, and then given up on it. Because those are the two things that I see very, very frequently, are people that are like, I want to cosplay, but I can't. And it's like, well, why can't you? I've seen people make historically accurate, and this is something that I've talked about on my stream too. I've seen a historically accurate 15th century European plate armor made out of cardboard and duct tape.
That's awesome.
And it was incredible.
Yeah.
Absolutely mind-blowingly incredible. The person, I'm sure, spent hundreds of hours templating out, figuring out how to get things to curve the right way.
Yeah,
and it was gorgeous.
Especially with cardboard, of all things.
Yeah, well, exactly. And it was corrugated cardboard, and to get curves out of corrugated cardboard, holy crap.
Yeah, yeah.
So they spent a grand total of about $50 on cardboard and duct tape, which at the end of the day, if you really want to prioritize making and cosplay over the course of whatever span of time, you can find $50 to put towards a costume.
Yeah, yeah.
If it's something that's important to you. Because if it's a matter of, I'm not going to get Panda Express a couple of times over the course of a year.
Yeah,
or I'm not going to go to Starbucks, or I'm going to eat ramen instead of a piece of chicken for one night. It's
so gross.
Well, and that's like, it's a priorities game. There's so many people that say, I can't afford to cosplay, and at the end of the day, if you're able to pay your bills, then there's a way to make it work if you want to. If you really, really want to.
See, like I showed you this Pit Boy I'm repainting. I'm doing that for a Fallout 4 Adam's Cat costume.
Nice.
I'm probably not going to be able to get the patch that I wanted to get for my leather jacket, but the Pit Boy itself
how big is the patch?
It's huge.
Oh, okay.
There's a somebody sells them on Etsy, and I know there's a Facebook group that does the same thing. But it's like something like, the real money I spent was the Pit Boy. That was $25.
Yeah. Yep.
I obviously have a pair of blue jeans and some tennis shoes. Not a big deal.
Yep.
I can get a white shirt for like $2.
Yep.
And a resource, which I know a lot of people know about this, but some may not, is thrift stores.
Absolutely.
110%. Every year around this time, which I'll probably go be doing this next weekend when I get paid, is I go to the thrift stores around here and I look at their leather jackets.
Yep.
And I find some really nice leather jackets.
And if you go in summer, especially because summer's when everybody's getting rid of their old leather jackets.
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to wear super heavy leather jackets in the middle of summer.
Yeah, I don't get rid of them.
And but like if you get a new jacket and you need to get rid of old ones, summer is a great time.
Yeah.
To find thrifted jackets.
And it's also cool though because this Adam's Cat costume, it's blue jeans, tennis shoes, white t-shirt, black leather jacket with the patch on the back and kind of like slicked over hair with some sunglasses.
Yep.
Obviously, I'm not really gonna like to feather up my hair to do the big swoop thing like you see in
pompadour.
Pompadour hairstyle. But I got like a leather jacket. It's nice and old. It's got a few rips and tears. I can sew that back up with some string or some leather thong, or I can just leave it be, and I can just go get a shirt, dunk it in some light coffee, and make it look nice and dirty. Throw some little red splotches on it, make it look like blood, and throw my just like rub my jacket down in the ground for a couple minutes, and I got some really old shop pants that are all torn up and shit. It's like costume right there. Budget under $50, really.
And it looks good. It's accurate.
Yeah, and
that's the cool thing.
Yeah, and the leather jacket, I got that thing for like $5, brand new. I'm pretty sure that thing was at least $200. Yeah, I have several leather jackets, really nice ones that are old and used and loved and naturally weathered. That I probably got like $1,000 worth and like value wise, probably. They're not worth that anymore, but like put all those together brand new, I've got just a ton of money in leather jackets that I know that I've spent maybe $90 on like 7 or 8 different jackets.
Yep.
That's like $10 a jacket. You can't beat that. So I was like, it's just like, if you want to get into cosplay, one, find something that's easy, that you could do easily, and just start at a thrift store, see if there's anything there that would help you out.
Yeah.
And like me, because I know we talked about this during your Twitch streams, is like I haven't done a whole lot of costumes, mainly because I want to lose weight so I can do these more costumes that are more form fitting, because I hide it well. But I'm a pretty big guy. I've got to lose.
I hide it not so well, and I'm a big guy.
Yeah. Maybe we'll do another podcast about that another time. But it's like if you think you can't do cosplay, for one, whether you think like one you just don't think you can do it, well, that's a lie. You can do it. Anybody can do it. Yep. You could go buy a cheap wig and put on a dress, and there you go. And
the kind of go-to example that I give is if you want to cosplay, get a pair of blue jeans, a white sweater, a blue polo shirt, which all in total is $10 at a thrift store, and then you get yourself an orange bandana, and guess what? You're Fred Jones from Scooby-Doo. $10, successful cosplay.
Or just forget the ascot, get a giant brown fro wig, and you're Bob Ross.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect example. You don't have to spend a lot of money. You don't have to spend a lot of time. It's not about that. It is about having fun.
Exactly.
If you want to get into the world of competitive cosplay, that changes the rules of engagement a little bit.
Yeah.
But very few people are interested in competitive cosplay in the grand scheme of things. That's not where the majority of people sit.
Yeah, I may at some point try that when I get these bigger costumes, because I've got a list of things that I want to do, but obviously I want to lose weight first before I dive into it fully. But
sure.
It's like every con there is a costume contest. You don't have to go in just to win. You could have a costume that you spent 20 hours on or 400 hours on. If you want to show it off and you think you want to one, make sure people will see it because you're walking in there anyways. People are going to be like, that's cool. Can I take a picture? Yeah, of course. But if you do the contest, is like, I feel confident about my thing that I made, that I want to see if I even have the slightest chance of even placing in whatever, top 4, top 3, whatever. You know, and if you do it first thing and you win, like you give that confidence, it's like, okay, I won a costume contest. That's really cool. What else can I do? You know, it just, I
not only that, but entering a costume contest is a fantastic way to make friends.
Exactly.
Sitting backstage, whether you've spent an hour or 1,000 hours on your costume, getting able to geek out with other people that are creative, makery, passionate about these IPs, these worlds, these characters, getting to find your people, so to speak, is so incredibly satisfying. It's so much fun. You know, so TwitchCon is one that is a little bit different in some aspects just because it's super, super, super competitive. But if you look at the finalists interacting in streams, like, we're all helping each other. We're all giving each other advice. We're all saying, look, if you want this to be super crazy crisp, you can do it this way, you can do it this way, you can do it this way. This is just my thoughts as someone who's familiar with this medium. You know, I've had a couple of people ask me a couple of things about leather, and I've been able to give them advice that say, look, you can do this by hand, but if you do this in this other way, you're going to get a lot better results. So that's, if you can manage to do it this way, then that's how you want to go. And everybody's supporting everybody else. Everybody's super hyped. It's not cutthroat. It's not, I want to beat you. It's, I want everybody to be performing at the top of their game. I want everybody to do as well as they possibly can, to show as well as they possibly can.
Yeah.
And then whatever happens is going to happen. And that's so cool to see. That's so cool to see.
You know, I've made friends at cons, and I've obviously making stuff and promote and pulling my stuff out there for other people to see. I've gotten commissions like the Pink Panther I did. Like,
yeah. Yep.
My friend, he I met him before, then he messaged me, is like, hey, I'm buying this Black Panther helmet. This is what I want to do. Can you repaint it for me? And I was like, all right.
That turned out super cool, by the way.
I love it. It's awesome. And he's worn it almost at every con he's been since then. And you know, something like that, you know, even if you're not like cosplaying, but you're making, you know, if you make something for somebody,
yeah,
like rather it be a prop or a piece of armor or a piece of clothing, and they wear it out, you know, you still should feel accomplished that you're doing stuff and it's getting out there. And like somebody comes up to him and is like, hey, where'd you get that? I was like, oh, my friend made this for me. And it's like, it's awesome, you know.
Heck yeah.
Sitting down is not working for me. You told your origin, and we've been chatting a little bit longer. What are your plans for the future? Because I know you've got to finish your armor for the TwitchCon contest.
Yeah.
And rather you win or lose, well, not lose, I should say. Rather, if you whatever, if you win the grand prize or you don't win the grand prize, what is your plan for the future?
So my goal, like my plan, I guess I'll say, is to continue making amazing things. After TwitchCon, I've got a couple of commissions that I need to bang out. I'll probably reopen commissions for a little bit. I've got another set of armor that I want to have done by February that I've got probably 15% done so far, 20% done so far, that I want to have done for that same con that I met the guy from LA that got me started on this whole road. Mm-hmm. And then from there, I'm going to keep streaming, and we're going to see if we can turn this into something that is a longer-term thing. So between the stream, between commissions, between contests, as long as I can make ends meet, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. I've got a handful of armor sets that are kind of a to-do list, but as is the case with pretty much every cosplayer ever, the list grows faster than I have time to make stuff.
Always. It's like I came up with this saying a while back, is like lists never die. Or no.
I love it.
No. Well, because I was kind of doing a play on words, just like war never changes from falling. I was like, lists never get smaller.
It's true.
They always grow, and that's like, I like, because now being a maker, like every time I see a new game or a new movie, it's like, oh, I want to make that. I want to make that. I probably can't make that, but I'll sure as hell try.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
because it's things like I really want to do. Let's see, my current, or some of my current list is, my next set after the Stag armor is an Atlantean set of armor. I really want to do the Dracula Untold black and red dragon serpent armor.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Which is phenomenal. I really want to do from the game Darksiders, Elder Idard, who is one of the makers. He's kind of this dwarf-ish looking elder, great big long beard. He's got pouches and knickknacks just everywhere. It would be just a really fun thing. And then the kind of what I see as the ultimate project that I have on my list right now is I want to do an anthropomorphized Necronomicon armor, which is where you take the Necronomicon and then basically turn it into a person. So I want to do a horror set of leather armor. It's something that I've never seen before. Nobody has ever, to my knowledge, ever done before.
That would be amazing.
Not like a necromancer, not like an axe murderer, but have a character that is, if the Necronomicon were to be made into a person. So it's going to have the cape. I want to do wet formed faces that look like they're screaming, so that I'll have this kind of flexible, flowing cape that will move like the faces are actually moving.
That would be awesome. I know, sorry to sidetrack you, but
no, you're good.
It was a couple months ago on your Twitch stream, like you were like, it was like one of your Tutorial Tuesday streams, and somebody's like, could you make a face out of leather? And you sat there and you molded this crazy, disgusting looking face out of leather. Yes. Then you stitched it all up, and I remember sitting there, and my wife was in the shop, and she looked like, what the hell is that? That is scary. It is like, yeah, Bjorn's making the face.
Yeah, that was for our Hatake cosplay on Twitch and on Instagram. She's absolutely amazing. She's making an Azog the Defiler costume from The Hobbit, which is the pale orc.
Yeah,
and she's doing like a full body sculpted prosthetic that is going to be absolutely incredible. But the front of Azog's skirt is 3 or 4 faces that are stitched together, and so she's trying to figure out how to do that. And so we took a few hours and we banged one out, and it turned out really, really, really well.
I thought that was the greatest thing ever, because like by the time you were done, it was just pure just morbidity.
Well, and that's the thing that's so cool about it is that I posted it to social media, and it immediately blew up. It hit the front page of Imgur. It's got like 4 times as many responses on my Instagram as any other thing that I've ever posted. It was super, super popular. And I want to see what a full set of armor would do. Something that just has that visceral reaction of, oh God, like what is that? You know, that is a reaction that people
stuff
don't
of nightmares
have. And yeah, exactly. So that's what I really want to do.
If you do that, you like, because obviously you'll have the full set, like have the toes on the feet be like little like baby hands, and like just disgusting stuff. Like the giant open mouth Necronomicon on the stomach and the giant eyeball or in the face or something crazy.
Exactly. There's so many options.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that because that would just be amazing. And like I got a filmmaker friend of mine I'm gonna have on at some point.
Oh hell yeah!
And he gets excited about just the weirdest stuff, and I could show that to him, and he would flip out.
Yeah,
because like he wants to do a horror movie, and
oh cool,
and because I had sent him a picture of something, and it's like, yes, let's do a horror movie, and I was like, okay, we can do that, and I was like, because I haven't told him yet, because I'll tell him at some point, but like if he wants to do a horror movie, I think every filmmaker's first horror movie should be either a slasher or just a gritty vampire movie, and be like, you know what, like his name's Emmanuel, but I call him E-Man. I was like, E-Man, there's this old legend about this woman called Elizabeth Bathory who used to bathe in virgin's blood to make herself to become youthful or something or another. I was like, let's make a crappy vampire movie where like these kids fucking come across this old castle and they find this pool of blood, and next thing you know, just screaming mutilated old lady is just and they freak out, and cut scene, and they run out, then giant Necronomicon monster.
Hell yes.
And everybody dies. Nobody lives.
Of course. Cabin in the Woods style.
Oh God.
So good. So good.
The end of that movie is like, I survived, and he just gets gunned down. And it's just, man.
It's so good, though.
I know. Oh, that's great. Well, I'm not exactly sure how long these podcasts are going to be. We're hitting about an hour 30. I'm thinking that's probably a good cutoff time. But one last thing is, do you have any advice for anybody who wants to get into leatherworking, since you do leatherworking? So what would you say somebody who's
talking specifically leatherworking or crafting in general? Well,
since you do leatherworking, let's say leatherworking, because depending on who I have on, depending on what they do, we'll probably just do it. So what would you say for somebody who wants to get into leatherworking? Where should they start?
For getting into leatherworking, start by picking a project that you will use the result of regularly. If you have something that you make, like for me, one of my early projects was a wallet that I used for about 2 years. And every single time I pulled that wallet out of my back pocket, I had this feeling of, hell yeah, I made this. This is a functional thing. This is a piece of art that, whether or not whoever else is next to me notices that I have this hand-tooled wallet, I know that I made this. And that was a huge aspect of what pushed me to keep going, to keep doing it, to stick with it, is the fact that I was doing something that was functional. It was aesthetically pleasing. It was artistic. It was, making something to make something, but it also served a purpose. So by picking something that you will use regularly, that will be your regular reminder to stick with it. So that's my advice. Also, for buying tools, pick a project, buy the tools that you need for that project. Don't feel the need to go buy all the tools under the sun if you're only going to use 5 of them.
Yeah.
When I first started, I bought whatever tools I thought I might need at the time, and I have a lot of tools that sit unused 99% of the time.
My entire shop at the most time.
Yeah, well, and that's exactly it. If you only get the stuff that you know that you're going to actively use, you're going to make it infinitely more accessible, because leatherworking as a craft is not inexpensive. Compared to foam, leather is significantly more expensive.
Yeah.
And that makes a lot of people shy away from it. But it doesn't have to be expensive. It can be if you let it, but it doesn't have to be. So just kind of manage that side as well.
Yeah, so So basically what you're saying is if you want to get into leatherworking, pick something small that you'll use a lot and just try it and see what happens. And if you love it, keep going. If not, well, at least you tried.
Well, and I think that understanding the nature of failure, because for me, failure isn't really a thing, because I either succeed, or if I screw up, then I identify what I screwed up, where I screwed up, how I screwed up, and then every single project that I make in the future is better because I've learned that pitfall, that thing to not do. So as long as you are reflecting on what you're doing, how you're making it, when you succeed and when you fail, to identify things that you can do better next time, and taking that to heart and actually using that, then there's really no way to fail. Yeah, you might waste some material, but it's not really a waste because you've learned. That's just the cost of education.
Yeah, what was it said that Edison said? I learned how I basically 2,000 learned how to do 2,000 ways to not make a light bulb. I think was the saying.
Yep.
I just really butchered that with my bad words.
Words are hard, guys.
I know. Especially when you have the adult. Words are definitely hard. Okay. Well, this was the first episode of The Origin of the Maker with my friend Bjorn's Workshop. If you got any questions for Bjorn, go to his Twitch stream. He streams a lot, and if you're interested in leatherworking and want to learn some stuff, definitely go check him out, because he's an amazing guy. You should totally do that. But thank you for listening to my pilot episode. We will be doing this again. And why don't you go ahead and do me a favor? Why don't you hit that subscribe button down there, and so you get notified when we upload another episode. Like the video and stuff and things, and let me know if you hate my voice and if you want me to, whatever. Yeah, fumbling over my words, more or less, how it is. But thank you, everybody, and we will catch you next time.